Hey everybody, Michael Utley here again, founder of GoEps. I want to talk a little bit about what factors impact SEO the most. SEO has lots of different factors, but they all fall into a handful of categories. And we can get into them at a high level and understand, for your basic understanding of how some sites rank higher than others, we can understand what's happening. So number one, websites must be secure and accessible. If you look at your website, at the website address, you'll notice in your browser that it resolves to HTTPS quite often. But if you see HTTP and there's no S, it means your website hasn't been updated with a secure socket layer certificate, an SSL certificate. And so you need to do that. And then part of what an SEO agency will do is go through and find elements that are on the page, images or supporting files that are not also being forced through that secure connection. And so good SEO will catch those errors and resolve those and work through all those technical questions. But making sure that the website is secure is one of the basics of doing good SEO work. Making sure it's accessible. This kind of gets to like the basic layout. What are the things it's trying to do and how does it work? If, especially for a mobile experience, if elements are moving around or shifting as the page loads, that hurts what Google and other search engines see as the website being accessible. And so accessibility just means, does it work correctly? If you have menu items that are popping out of view so that buttons are out of reach, or even what we call thumbability on a phone, if text links that are really important to get around the website are too small, those are all things that Google can suss out and use as factors for deciding which websites to suggest higher in results to their users. Next up is page speed. Page speed about 2 years ago became one of the most important factors. It's sort of like a light bulb went on over at Google and they said, oh, wow, the internet is a cell phone. And they decided to make the mobile experience the most important factor as opposed to a desktop experience as to which websites were laid out well or had the right page speed or page speed that was acceptable. Google bought a company called Lighthouse that had a good page speed tool, and they incorporated that into all their thinking. And it's pretty good because it shows what can be improved on the page. So a good SEO shop will evaluate your website in part based on page speed and make recommendations, and also start implementing those changes. And Google's a little bit extreme when it comes to what the page speed tool sets as an expectation for mobile users, almost to the point of you have to have fewer images or less video content. And so there's some trade-offs to this page speed question once you start trying to push your mobile score up to an A or sort of in the green. So yeah, page speed, major factor, but there are trade-offs when you take it seriously and try to do it well. One of the sites that I have that ranks better in page speed than any other website does not have a content management system. It's one that I created 23 years ago, and it's been live ever since. And page speed on the site is great, but it's a bear to go update anything because it's so old. There's no content management system, and the client loves it, doesn't want to change it. So we're not going to change it, but there are trade-offs in page speed. You just have to decide what's right for your business. Next up is mobile friendliness. We mentioned mobile for page speed, but it's also an important factor for all the usability elements. So what are some things to consider? Making sure that you have a responsive site that sizes correctly, no matter what type of device someone's on. Using fonts that are appropriate for a mobile user. Another one is using high contrast fonts and colors and shapes and layout elements so that someone who's functioning or using your website in a higher brightness environment, like being outside during the daytime, can still see and use your website. That's an easy one to miss and very easy to forget when you're used to thinking about, oh, we're planning a new website. You're used to thinking about it as a desktop view. It'd be better to just start with a mobile view, no matter what your website is. Even if you're sort of big ticket B2B and you think our audience is just coming in through desktop computers, they're not on cell phones. Well, they might be on a cell phone when they're grabbing a URL or whatever, but more importantly, Google is treating all websites' mobile experience like it's the primary user experience for their search index. So even if you sort of think this doesn't apply to you, or you have some of the basics covered, understand that Google sees your entire website's value through the lens of how good it is for mobile users. Next up, mobile-friendly menus. We talked about that, making sure they work correctly, and ensuring that content's not hidden by pop-up elements or modal screens that want to take in contact information, but may damage or end the basic functionality of the website if they're not implemented correctly. All right, some other factors. Domain age, your URL, what keywords it has, and the domain authority that you've earned. These are some of the things that have to do with your website as a whole and how it's scored. And a lot of how you can influence or improve domain age is covered by your content strategy and your link strategy. And so we'll talk more about those items separately, but understanding what your domain authority is and trying to work it up over the years is a good tactic. It's a good thing to do. And thinking about your URL, making sure that it's a good, clear connection to your business is important. A lot of companies in the early days that we worked with would use abbreviations and sometimes some sort of weird inside language, like inside baseball, that didn't quite translate to the audience and their pain points for both branded and non-branded searches. And so we've been through quite a few decisions to transition domains. And that's a big move, and you want to make sure that you do that carefully because of the lost value that you can have in search engines by starting all over. So you don't have to start over completely, but there are things you have to do to plan that sort of project to do it well. Next up is one of these major categories, content quality. Quality content is the lifeblood of the internet, and AI is going to change the game. It's going to make creating quality content easier in some cases, but in terms of the noise that's out there and whether or not it really offers any new insight or anything that you want speaking for your brand, that's going to be sort of the downside of AI. But that part is sort of Google's problem to figure out. But what they're doing is they're moving in a direction of using more human intelligence to evaluate individual websites and then using AI-powered tools to go further with that. So whichever side of the seesaw, AI or humans, is pressed on by the market, search engines are by definition going to have to go press on the other side to level it out. So AI is going to have a major impact, but it's not going to remove the importance of content completely. Google is going to have to tack into the wind in terms of other factors like inbound links and social signals, but quality content will continue to be very important. It's just got to be presented in a way that creates actual engagement going forward. But quality content, video content, is a major portion of how SEO impacts website placement in search engines. Next up, technical SEO. This is all the bits and bobs and pieces of the page that an SEO agency needs to look at. There are a lot of these. It's good to understand them and know how to ask about them. Or if you're sort of getting into this and doing it on your own, it's good to use tools. We use tools like SpyFu, SEMrush, and other tools to evaluate websites. And doing these scans on a regular basis and fixing technical problems or filling in gaps that are sort of missed opportunities, like having unique meta descriptions for every page, or unique page titles. These things, while something may make sense to you internally, it's good to understand how search engines see a website, because unique, clear, descriptive content for all that meta content is really important. And for all the things that are broken links, broken images, those are all really important to scan and fix every month. And so those are pretty easy things to do, very meat and potatoes SEO, and very important to handle and run on a regular basis with a repeatable, operationalized process. Next up, the user experience. Are people able to find what they're looking for when they come to your website? Google is not necessarily watching every interaction and everything that happens on your website and using that data from Google Analytics to funnel it back to their search algorithms. But what they do see and that we've talked about for many years in search engines is time on site and people hitting the back button and immediately going back to go deeper in the search results. If someone's not able to get to your website and continue their journey to dig in and find what they're looking for, either through absorbing a quick video or taking action with calls to action that are important to people when they're coming to your website, like finding the job openings if they're looking for a job. You might be a little disappointed. Oh, it's just a job seeker. It's not a customer. We're looking for customers today. It's still important to Google that person got there, didn't find what they were looking for, and immediately went back and started digging deeper in the search results. You want people who are coming to the website to find some things useful and engaging so that they're sending a signal to search engines with their own behavior that your website was a valuable destination. So thinking about and essentially entering into the dance with your audience about what are they trying to achieve, not just what are we trying to push, what's primary for us, but what are they trying to achieve, and making sure those people can engage and continue on their path is a good sort of backwards way to communicate to Google that your website is valuable. And then links. This is a big one. It's really good to use this article below as a reference item, but links matter. There's sort of the connective tissue between domain authority of different websites for Google. And so having inbound links at valuable websites, things that have high authority, you can do this through media, gaining traction in media outlets that have a high perceived value, or other websites that you control and creating links between them. You can also go try to find and develop backlinks through a process of finding something of value that you can offer in exchange for a backlink. And that happens a lot. It's a part of SEO. We don't recommend using any sort of cheesy backlink builder that flushes your URL out to a lot of irrelevant, low value websites. That's kind of a shady tactic, and it's not something that we pursue. But having a good, healthy, appropriate approach to something like Wikipedia can be done and executed. And so, but those things take an expert hand to plan and develop. Yeah, inbound links are really important. Outbound links. Outbound links send a signal to Google that your website's an organic part of the fabric of the internet, and that you're not just there with a bunch of manually created or purchased inbound links, but you also have a little bit of give and take and have some appropriate outbound links that are related to your content. And those are easy to do because they're on pages you control. And then another one, this is one that I think gets overlooked a lot, is internal links. When you load a new blog post, you can link to some other resources you have on your own website, or better yet, the services pages relevant to that blog. And so these internal links, this is low-hanging fruit because these are pages that you control. And so we plan and build those into posts that we create for the purpose of sending a signal to search engines about the target page. So the keywords that are built into the link actually tell search engines something about the target page. So click here to learn more about our concrete polishing services for New England. That would be a sample of an internal link. And I would not link the words click here, but the rest of it, really valuable content for search engines to associate with the target page. Next up, social signals. If you have social media channels and you're active there, you want to make sure that you complete all of the content for the channel about your own company or organization. And so doing so is going to make sure that you've got the URL of your website associated with the profile. And so all the activity that's happening with people on the internet around your brand is going to be associated with your domain. And that's a social signal. So your name brand being associated with more activity on the internet is a good thing for your SEO. Next up is business information. Sometimes we call this category of activity maps and apps, maps and applications. Getting your data, your business data out into these maps and apps, in particular, your Google business profile, is really important. Maintaining it, keeping it fresh and updated and relevant, and where possible, gaining some positive reviews or making sure that you're using all the extra features. Google offers a link for appointment setting. That's a way that we generate leads into GoApps, is people go to the Google profile and set a meeting with us. And we talk to them and we send them a proposal and they say, yeah, we want to work with you. And so this sort of basic detailed, diligent operationalization of a lot of small things is what makes up SEO. So ranking factors, the bottom line, if you follow the advice in this guide, focus on the critical factors, you're going to build success over time. SEO, some people call it a grind. I say it's a mountain to climb. Doing it well, building institutional knowledge, creating programs that have traction that build over time, like accumulating more and more valuable content and inbound links, it works. All right. Hope this was helpful. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks.